Schultz, y'all can be excused from the end of the table. Senator Hammer, you're recognized to close with your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'll be as brief as I can, but I do want to hit on a couple points, and I appreciate the thoroughness with which the committee has asked questions, and hopefully it has brought to everybody's mind that we do have good election integrity in the state. One thing I want to make sure is that there was an individual that testified a while ago about the Municipal League. All of y'all know who Jack is if I say Jack with the Municipal League. And I sent him a message and said, does the Municipal League, are they against this bill? And he said, and I'll show you the text if you want to see it, he says that the Municipal League has no position on this bill. So I wanted to clear that point up, if you will, because sometimes that's what happens is misinterpreted information, misinformation, whatever the case may be, gets put out there and people make decisions on the basis of that. I would hope that with everything that's been shared by those that we entrust with our election integrity here in the state would take into consideration the testimony that were given by the witnesses today, and that you would make a decision just on the factual answers that they have given. One thing I want to make sure to drive home is that this is not an anti-paper ballot bill that has been made out to be. What it does is just establishes a process that if you as a county choose to do so, here's the guidelines, because the one thing we want to do is we don't want 75 counties doing 75 different things. We want to make sure that all 75 counties are held accountable, and if you choose to deviate from what is a statewide accepted practice protected in law, then why should the other counties have to bear the burden of paying the additional costs that you have chosen to make a decision to do? So I want to bring that real clear distinction, because that's what the bill does, and I don't want any misunderstanding about that. With regards to situations involving maybe voter, with machine inaccuracy, or somebody saying, well, that's not my vote, the one thing that wasn't brought out was that they actually had 3 cases where they went out and investigated 3 complaints about machines flipping the vote, and they found out and determined that on each one of those, it was the actual voter that made the mistake, not the machine. And I think that's important, that we are watching for things and that we have systems in place in order to respond to that. The last thing I would ask you, well, a couple things. One, you have 2 handouts that I gave you. One shows the step-by-step process as far as when you go in to vote, how it processes all the way through. Then you have that other more deep dive document, if you would, and I hope that shows that we do have good systems in place. And I guess I'd close with this last thing. I read this down on the other end, and this is from Trent Minner, who ran a very close race. And in fact, if you go back and you look at the races that have been close, that have been very controversial in the state over the last 2 election cycles, each one of them dealt with something related to paper, okay? Trent Minner, though, made this comment, and he put it out in a public statement, so it's not that I'm revealing anything confidential. He said, I want to thank the Faulkner County Election Commission and staff, the Faulkner County Clerk, Margaret Darter, for their diligence. Together, they promptly addressed the campaign's request for a recount. Faulkner County and state of Arkansas should be proud of their work. While the results of the recount did not change the outcome of the race, the transparency and speed with which they accomplished the recount leaves nothing to be desired. We are fortunate in Faulkner County to have such professionalism and integrity in our elections. The Commission, the Clerk's Office, and their staff have shown themselves to be model for the rest of the state. And he concludes by saying, Arkansas can be proud knowing that every lawful vote was counted, every voice was heard, and that we are blessed to live in a county with free and fair elections. This is from a Republican who lost, but took it with grace and dignity. Maybe one day he'll be back, but at least for his election, he gave the assurance that the processes in place that are under discussion today were fair, accurate, and gave good results. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I would hope for the good results of this committee to vote do pass, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Senator Hammer is closed with his bill. What's the pleasure of the committee?